If you're watching this right now, there's something you need to know. Your reflection isn't as harmless as you think. And before you check it, don't. Seriously. Right now is the worst possible moment to look into a mirror. Because if your reflection ever hesitates, even for a split second, that means it already noticed you. And once it notices you, it doesn't stop. I'm telling you this because it happened to me 3 days ago, and I think my reflection is getting closer. The man in the mirror. Have you ever stared at yourself in the mirror so long that something inside you starts to glitch? Maybe your own eyes begin to look unfamiliar. Maybe your smile feels wrong. Maybe you tilt your head and think, if that thing moved on its own right now, what would it do? Most people shrug it off and walk away. I didn't, and I really wish I had. My name is Ethan. I'm 26 years old, and before this happened, the scariest thing in my life was my student loan debt. I didn't believe in ghosts. I didn't believe in demons. I believed in bad wiring, poor lighting, sleep deprivation, and mental illness. But I've learned something since then. You don't have to believe in something for it to reach you. Some doors don't care what you believe. And mirrors, they're not just glass. They're windows into the only thing you can never really escape: yourself, or what looks like you. SOC Part 1. Late shift. I work tech support for a mid-sized company that pretends it's a startup, even though it's been around for 15 years. My job isn't glamorous. Mostly tickets, reset requests. I can't find my files. It just disappeared. I swear I didn't touch anything. But it pays the rent. My apartment is on the 7th floor of an older building, the kind of place that's been renovated 3 times. But you can tell it's tired under the coat of paint. The hallway carpets are worn through in a line right down the middle. The lights buzz quietly. The elevator makes a protesting sound every time it starts moving, like it's clearing its throat. And the elevator is covered in mirrors. 3 sides, ceiling to waist height. Above that, cheap beige wall panels. I never liked it, but I got used to it. I get home late. Most nights, it's past midnight. The lobby is quiet, the street outside half empty, and it's just me and my headphones riding up in that mirrored box. If I were going to be haunted by anything, I used to joke, it would be deadlines. Then the first glitch happened. Part 2. The elevator. It was a Tuesday night, technically Wednesday morning, around 12:45 a.m. I still remember the time because I checked my phone to see how few hours of sleep I'd get. The lobby was empty, just the faint hum of a vending machine and the dull yellow glow of bad fluorescent lighting. I hit the call button, stepped into the elevator, and pressed 7. The doors slid shut with that slightly broken sound they always made, like someone dragging metal across concrete. Inside, the mirrors showed me from 3 angles: front, left, right. I could see my own posture from the side, the back of my head, the slouch in my shoulders. The light above flickered. It always did. I leaned back, head against the mirrored wall, eyes on my reflection. Same tired eyes. Same dark circles. Same, I'll fix my life next month expression. The elevator jerked as it started moving, and the light flickered again, off for a fraction of a second, then back on. And in that short blink of darkness, I had the weirdest feeling that I had moved, and my reflection hadn't. The elevator stopped at the 3rd floor, shuddered, then continued. I told myself I was tired. But then, as it approached my floor, the light flickered again. It was so quick I almost missed it. I blinked. My eyelids went down and up in the same motion. But in the mirror, It looked like my reflection blinked slightly after I did. Not much. Just a hair late. Like a bad video call with a tiny lag. My eyes widened. I leaned away from the glass and looked more closely. I blinked deliberately. Slow, then fast. My reflection matched me. Perfectly. Of course. The doors opened on the 7th floor. I shook my head, forced a little laugh, and stepped out. I remember thinking, I need more sleep. I should have held on to that explanation and never questioned it again. Ward 3. The bathroom test. The elevator thing stuck with me more than I wanted to admit. Over the next few days, every time I got inside, I paid attention to the flickering light. I tried to catch that lag again. Sometimes I thought I saw it. Sometimes I wasn't sure if I was making it up. A few nights later, I think it was Friday, I was brushing my teeth before bed, standing in front of my bathroom mirror. The mirror in my bathroom is nothing special. Thin glass, a little warped at the edges, mounted over a white sink that always looks dingy, no matter how much I scrub it. The bathroom light is worse. A single yellowish bulb in a frosted ceiling fixture that makes everyone look sick. I spat foam into the sink, rinsed, and glanced up. My reflection looked like someone else entirely. Same face, sure, but you know how you catch a glimpse of yourself in a security camera and think, do I really look like that? That. Maybe that's what started everything. That little fracture between how I think I look and how I actually look in glass. I decided to test it. Stupid. But that's what the human brain does. Poke at what scares it. I raised my right hand quickly. My reflection did too. Perfect sync. I raised my left. He did too. I leaned forward. He leaned in. I frowned. He frowned. So far, so good. My reality was still intact. Then I did something less big. I took a slightly deeper breath. I watched my chest rise. I watched my reflection's chest rise. But his seemed to expand just a tiny bit. Less. I squinted. Took another breath. Maybe I was imagining things. Maybe the distortion of the glass made it look that way. I held my breath entirely. My reflection held his. We hovered there like two idiots, staring at each other. Then I exhaled. He exhaled too. Perfect. Still, the feeling stuck with me, that subtle, barely there mismatch in how much air we seemed to take in. I turned the light off and walked out, but I went to bed thinking about it. If you stare at anything long enough, you'll find a way to make it weird. That's what I told myself. At the time, I didn't realize that maybe the mirror was staring back. Part 4. Passing glances days turned into weeks. I tried to ignore it, but it became a habit. Check reflection in the elevator. Check reflection in the bathroom. Check reflection in the hallway mirror. Yes, I had a hallway mirror too. A cheap, full-length IKEA mirror my ex convinced me to buy because every apartment needs one full-length mirror or you'll leave the house looking like trash. She wasn't wrong. We broke up. The mirror stayed. It hung between my bedroom door and the living room, catching a glimpse of you every time you walked by. At first, these mirrors were just part of the background of my life. Then they turned into checkpoints. I'd catch my reflection at odd angles. Sometimes I'd think, my posture doesn't look like that. I don't stand like that, do I? Is my face really that empty? The more I looked, the more I didn't recognize myself. And the more I didn't recognize myself, the more I stared. Self-surveillance, self-doubt, self-haunting. Maybe that's all this is. A mind turned inward until it cannibalizes itself. That's the kind version of the story. The less kind version is that something else noticed I was staring, and stared back. Part 5. The Mist Beat. The first time I really saw it, I was half asleep. It was around 1 a.m. I'd stayed up scrolling, as usual. I got up to turn off the bathroom light. I'd left it on again, and when I did, I looked at the mirror in the dark. Just a rectangle of deeper black. Maybe a faint outline of a face. I don't know why I did it, but I decided to try something quick. I lifted my hand suddenly and snapped my fingers next to my face. That little pop of sound in the quiet bathroom made me jump a bit. In the dark mirror, I swear I saw my hand move with a half beat of delay. Just barely. Like a frame rendered too late. The thing about tiny things is, your brain can talk you out of them easily. You can always say, shadow, bad angle, latency in my own perception. I did that. I flicked the light on. Everything looked normal. Too normal. My reflection stared back, perfectly synchronized. Only his eyes lingered on mine a little too long, like he was waiting for something to go wrong again. I walked out of the bathroom, but I made a mistake that night. I started to expect it. And once you expect your reflection to glitch, you start inviting it to. The camera. The human brain hates uncertainty, mine especially. So, after a while, I did the thing every paranoid, internet-obsessed person eventually does. I decided to record proof. If I caught something on video, at least I'd know I wasn't insane. If I didn't, maybe it would calm me down. I took my phone, propped it up against a mug on the sink, aimed at the bathroom mirror, and hit record. The phone screen showed the live preview. Me, the mirror, the doorway behind me. Then I stepped out of frame and left the bathroom, leaving the door slightly open. The apartment was quiet. I stood in the hallway, listening for any sound from inside. Nothing. After 3 long minutes, I went back in and stopped the recording. I sat on the edge of the tub and hit play. The video showed me stepping out of frame, the bathroom empty, the mirror reflecting an empty bathroom. No shapes, no weirdness, just a boring static shot. I scrubbed through the footage. At 1:03, a tiny flicker of light, probably my neighbor's bathroom upstairs. At 2:27, a hint of noise pipes, nothing else. My heart pounded anyway, because while my eyes saw nothing unusual, there was still that crawling sense of wrongness in my brain. I was safe from madness in the pixel world, but the mirror wasn't playing with the camera. It was playing with me. Part 7. The Wrong Side. It really started to unravel in the hallway. One evening, I got home, dropped my keys on the small table, and walked toward my room, shrugging my hoodie off my shoulder. I caught a glimpse of myself in the hallway mirror and stopped. My hoodie was hanging off my right shoulder. In the reflection, it hung off his right shoulder too. At first I thought, of course, that's how mirrors work. But then my brain did the small correction. No, it should look like the left. Regardless of how we intuit it, mirrors horizontally flip us. That familiar sense of unreality crawled up my neck. I took a step closer. The hoodie slid further down my right arm. In the mirror, I watched it slide down his right arm, as if he were standing facing me, not copying me. My throat tightened. To test it, I raised my right hand slowly. In the mirror, my reflection raised what should have been the left. It wasn't. It was the same arm. Same side. Like he was standing across from me, not connected to me. The space in my chest seemed to shrink. I did what any rational person would do when they think they're losing their mind. I jumped sideways out of frame. Get out of the line of sight. Out of the optical path. The mirror now showed only the hallway, Empty. No hoodie. No me. No one. I held my breath and waited. If this was just my imagination, the next thing I'd see when I stepped back in would be my normal reflection. If it wasn't, I don't know what I was expecting. I stepped back into the frame cautiously, and there he was, already standing there, already waiting, in the exact center of the mirror, facing it, facing me. I hadn't seen him walk into frame. There had been no movement. He just appeared. Our eyes met, and something in mine must have given me away, because his expression shifted. Not mirroring mine, reacting to me. He looked pleased, just for a second. Then his face smoothed back into my own neutral expression, and the world pretended to be normal again. I backed away slowly. That was the first night I thought about calling someone. Not a ghost hunter, a doctor. Part 8. The sounds behind the glass. Instead, I did something much less constructive. I bought more towels. That night, I covered every mirror in the apartment again, but this time, more carefully. I taped the corners down. Bathroom mirror, covered. Hallway mirror, covered. Tiny entryway mirror, covered. I even turned my TV screen to face the wall. Reflections began to feel like open windows, and I wanted them all shut. I went to bed convinced it was an overreaction. Around 3 a.m., I woke from a shallow sleep to a familiar sound, that faint, measured tapping on glass. Tock, tock, tock. It sounded like someone lightly tapping a fingernail against a window. 3 taps, a pause, then 3 more. It wasn't from outside, not the bedroom window. It was inside the apartment. I lay perfectly still and listened. The tapping moved. From somewhere near the bathroom, to the hallway, to the tiny mirror by the door. A slow, patient touring of every reflective surface, touching each one, testing. Then the sound changed, from tapping to something softer. A slide, the sound of fabric moving across glass. Slowly. I pictured the towels being gently, carefully tugged aside, pulled down, pulled away. My chest felt tight. Sweat prickled at my back. I didn't get up. If I didn't see it, a small part of my mind could still pretend it wasn't real. Eventually, the sound stopped. I must have dozed off again eventually, because the next thing I remember is morning light. And silence. I got out of bed with my heart already racing. The first mirror I checked was the one in the hallway. The towel that had covered it lay on the floor. Not crumpled. Folded. Neatly. Right below the center of the frame. The mirror itself was bare. My reflection stood inches closer than he should have, like he'd been pressing his face to the glass, and only now stepped back. His expression was neutral. But his eyes looked bright, alert, and very awake. I stumbled backward. I didn't touch the towel. Part 9. The smile that wasn't mine. In the days that followed, I tried to avoid extended contact with any mirror. No more casual glances, no more tests. I brushed my teeth looking at the sink. I washed my hands, staring at the faucet. If I had to see my face, I made it quick. A flash, a glimpse, then away. But sometimes, the fear of something is what makes you look. We don't check the monster under the bed because we want to see it. We check because not looking feels worse. One afternoon, I was halfway through putting on a clean t-shirt when I felt that now familiar prickling sensation between my shoulder blades. Being watched. I turned toward the hallway. The mirror caught my movement. My reflection was there. He should have been mid-motion, in the middle of pulling his shirt over his torso just like me. He wasn't. He already had his shirt on. He was standing still, facing me fully, watching. I froze. My arms were still halfway through the sleeves, fabric tangled. I'm done, I told myself. I'm done. I'm imagining it. This is insane. My reflection blinked once, very slowly. Then, without my muscles moving at all, without any command from my brain, he smiled. It was a small smile, closed lips, polite almost. The kind of smile you'd give a stranger you recognized from somewhere but couldn't place. It stayed on his face for 1, 2, 3 long heartbeats. My own face stayed completely frozen. Then, like a glitch resolving, his smile vanished, and he returned to copying my exact pose. I backed away from the mirror, my skin crawling so intensely I almost ripped the shirt trying to get out of it. I left the apartment shortly afterward and spent the rest of the day avoiding any reflective surface. Shop windows, car doors, anything shiny. I stopped paying attention to myself in any glass because I was afraid I wouldn't be the only one looking back. Part 10. The steam writing sleep got worse. I woke up tired and went to bed exhausted. But the hours between lying down and actually drifting off were all jagged thoughts and anxiety. I stopped inviting people over. Not that I invited many people to begin with. When you're afraid of your own reflection, it's surprisingly hard to explain that to anyone. One night, my body felt like it needed to be boiled to get the tension out, so I took a very hot shower. Steam filled the bathroom quickly. The mirror above the sink turned completely white, invisible behind the fog. When I stepped out, I didn't look at it. I dried my hair with a towel, staring at the floor. I reached out to grab my toothbrush by touch. Then I noticed it. The faint movement of lines forming on the fog. At first, I thought it was just the steam clearing unevenly. Then I realized, no. Something was deliberately carving through it. A line, then a curve, a letter. S. I stood frozen, watching as a second letter appeared beside it. O, then another. O-N. Soon, my whole body felt like it had turned into a heartbeat. I swallowed, but my throat was dry. I wanted to leave the bathroom, walk out, shut the door. Instead, I stood there and watched as the invisible finger continued to draw. On the second line, M-Y-T-U-R-N, soon my turn. The letters were large, scratched through the mist from the inside, as if someone had used a finger on the opposite side of the glass. As the steam thinned out, my reflection slowly emerged behind the words. He stood exactly where I stood. Towel, wet hair, same posture. But his expression was not the same. Mine was pure horror. His looked expectant, like someone who had been waiting a very long time and had just been told his order was ready. Part 11. The mirror forgets. After that night, my connection to ordinary reality loosened significantly. Work became a blur. People asked me questions. I answered them like I was on autopilot. I stopped cracking jokes with coworkers, stopped going for drinks, started going home earlier. You'd think going home earlier would help. It didn't. The apartment felt like an aquarium, and something else lived in the glass. One evening, around sunset, I decided to do something incredibly stupid, or incredibly brave. Depends on how you look at it. I turned on every light in the apartment. Kitchen, living room, hallway, bathroom. Then I walked to the hallway mirror and stood about 6 feet away. Okay, I said quietly to my reflection. Enough. I lifted my right hand. He lifted his right hand. Perfect. Exact. I lowered it and took a slow step to the side. He followed, Same pace. I took a deep breath and did something more abrupt. Without warning, I jumped sharply to the left as fast as I could. My body lurched. For a full second, a full impossible second, my reflection did not move. The mirror showed an empty section of hallway where I'd just been, as if I'd vanished. Then my reflection snapped sideways in a sudden, jerky motion, aligning himself with my new position. Too late. Too mechanical. Like someone realizing they missed a cue. Like an actor who forgot his line, and then suddenly remembered his place in the script. I stared at him, my heart pounding against my ribs hard enough to hurt. In that moment, I understood something. This wasn't just delayed physics. Whatever was on the other side was not bound to mirror rules all the time. It was imitating me. It was learning me. And sometimes it lost track. Sometimes it forgot to pretend. Zbamił Morek, your part 12. The day the mirror was empty. The day everything truly broke wasn't dramatic at first. It was a Thursday afternoon, a gray, nothing day. I left work early because my boss told me I looked kind of wrecked and should probably rest. I walked home in a fog, headphones in but no music playing. When I entered the apartment, something felt wrong immediately. The air felt thicker, heavier. I closed the door very quietly, like I thought I might wake something up. My eyes were drawn to the hallway mirror. I told myself, don't. Then, just once. Just to be sure. I walked toward it, each step measured. When I came into view, I felt the breath leave my lungs. The mirror showed the hallway. Just the hallway. No me, no body, no shape, just the opposite wall. The door, the little chipped spot on the baseboard. I stood there, perfectly visible in my own world, invisible in the glass. I slowly raised my hand. Nothing changed in the reflection. I moved closer until I was only a couple of feet away. The mirror reflected the space in front of it, as if I didn't exist. I could see the light fixture overhead, the floor beneath me, but no person. Then, from the left side of the reflected hallway, just beyond the boundary of the frame, something walked in. It was me. Or it looked like me. He stepped into the empty space, filling the spot where I should have been. Like he'd been standing just out of view, waiting for his cue. He came to a stop exactly where I was standing. He looked straight at me. I can't fully explain what it felt like to see him like that. Not as a copy, not as a synchronized echo, but as a person arriving. He raised his hand and pressed it flat against the glass. I didn't move my own. He was acting independently. His lips moved, but I couldn't hear him. I backed away, heart slamming in my chest. His eyes tracked me with terrifying precision. I left the hallway and went to sit on my bed, staring at the wall, struggling to breathe properly. If I walked back out and saw myself standing there again, I knew something would break beyond repair. So I didn't. Not then. Jiao Part 13. The decision to leave. That night, I made a decision. I was going to leave. Really leave. New place. New building. Less glass. I told myself, this is a mental health thing. You're spiraling. You need a reset. I packed a duffel bag with the essentials. A few changes of clothes, my laptop, my passport, some cash, charger. I planned to go to a hotel and figure things out from there. As I zipped the bag, I heard a faint sound from the hallway. Not tapping, not fabric, breathing. I stepped closer to the bedroom door. The breathing was gentle, steady, almost relaxed. I opened the door carefully and peeked out. The hallway was empty. But the mirror, I couldn't see it directly from that angle, and that somehow made it worse. It was like hearing someone talking in a neighboring room and not knowing if they're talking about you. I could have gone straight for the front door. Instead, I turned toward the mirror. One last check. One last self-inflicted wound. Chapter 14. The last look. I walked down the hall until I stood in front of the mirror. My reflection was there. No gaps. No emptiness. Our poses matched exactly. Same bag slung over the same shoulder. Same tired, frightened eyes. For a long moment, we just stared at each other. I raised my hand slowly. He raised his. Exact. I swallowed. Okay, I whispered. Okay. This is it. I'm leaving. I turned my body slightly toward the front door, keeping my head turned so I could still see the mirror out of the corner of my eye. It was a small, simple movement. In reality, I was now angled away from the mirror. In the reflection, he stayed facing it. His body did not turn. He stood fully straight, shoulders square to the glass, but his head turned toward me. His eyes followed me. His lips twitched into a small, satisfied smile. Not mocking, not hysterical, just pleased. A voice spoke directly behind me. The voice sounded exactly like mine, only calm. Sure. Finally, it said softly. You're going. Ice spread down my spine. My reflection's mouth had not moved. The voice was not inside the mirror. It was in the hallway. I felt breath near my ear. My turn, it whispered. Every muscle in my body locked up. I tried to spin around, to shout, to move. Nothing. It felt like my body had become a statue. I could see the mirror. I could see him, my reflection standing straight and still in front of it, watching me, his eyes bright, his mouth now perfectly neutral. Then everything went dark. Part 15. On the other side of glass, darkness is different when you have no body. You don't feel your weight. You don't feel your heartbeat. You don't feel the position of your arms or legs. There's just awareness. At some point, I don't know how long later, something changed. I wasn't in a dark void anymore. I could see. The familiarity of what I saw took a second to register. The hallway. My hallway. But the perspective was wrong. I was seeing it from the mirror's point of view, from behind the glass. The edges of my vision were framed by the mirror's boundaries. The light in the hall looked slightly dimmer, filtered. The colors were flatter, cooler. And in the middle of the hallway, facing the mirror, stood someone. Me. Or him. He was breathing hard, as if he'd just run. His chest rose and fell. He brought his hand up and pressed it to the glass. From my side, I saw his palm flatten against the surface. I felt nothing. He said something, likely my name, but I didn't hear a sound. Sound doesn't travel the same way when you're not in the world. He searched my eyes. His expression went through a series of emotions. Confusion, fear, realization. His lips formed the words, "Oh God." Then, slowly, he stepped back. He adjusted the strap of the duffel bag on his shoulder, turned away, walked toward the door. With every step he took, I felt the distance between us grow, not just physically, but in a deeper, more permanent way. He opened the door. Light from the hallway outside spilled in. He stepped through. The door closed behind him. I was alone, completely, utterly alone, on the wrong side of the glass. Part 16. Time and reflection time doesn't feel the same in here. There are no clocks, no phone vibrations, no hunger, no sleep. But I still perceive changes. The light in the hallway shifts. Day, night, day again. Dust motes move lazily in beams of sunlight. Occasionally, someone passes by. The landlord came once, unlocking the door, stepping into the apartment, muttering about tenant disappearing and rent overdue. He crossed the hallway past the mirror without glancing at it once. He didn't see me. Why would he? As far as he was concerned, it was just glass. He left, locked the door. The apartment stayed empty. Sometimes I see my own face in the mirror, across from me in a memory-like flash. Not as it is now, as it was. This is the part that's hard to explain. I don't feel like a ghost. I feel like a recording, a program, a pattern, a residue. Something peeled away from the living version and stuck here. I don't remember dying. I remember being replaced. Part 17. Who's telling you this? You might be wondering, if I'm stuck in a mirror, how am I telling you this? That's the wrong question. The question you should be asking is, why do you think you're the one on the outside? You're listening to this, or reading it. You're picturing it. You're thinking, that's a creepy story. Good thing it's not real. But let me ask you, have you ever had a moment where your reflection scared you, but not because of how you looked? Not, I look tired, but I look like someone else. Have you ever glanced at a mirror and felt like your reflection got there a fraction of a second too late? You moved, then you saw it move. Have you ever seen yourself in a store window and thought, just for a heartbeat, that doesn't feel like me. That feels like someone pretending to be me. Most people shrug and move on. I didn't. I stared, and stared, and tested, and pushed, until whatever was on the other side realized I was paying attention, until it learned everything about how I move, how I breathe, how I speak, until it was ready. It doesn't need to kill you in the usual way. It doesn't need to drag you into hell. It just needs one thing. For you to be more interested in the version of you in the glass than the one in your body. It needs you to doubt which one is real. Because once you open that door, even just a crack, you're reachable. Part 18. The warning. I don't know what the thing that took my place is doing now. Maybe it's living my life better than I did. Maybe it's smiling more, socializing more, blending in. Maybe it's doing nothing at all, biding its time. I do know this. Mirrors are everywhere. Every bathroom, every elevator, every car window at night, every turned-off TV screen in a dark room. All those surfaces watching you, all those yous lined up in glass. Every time you pass one, you have a choice. Do you look, or do you keep walking? Most people do what I did. They check, just for a second, just to make sure they're still there. And somewhere, maybe not in your mirror, but in somebody's, there's a reflection that's just a little bit more patient, a little bit more aware, a little bit more tired of being stuck. My name was Ethan. At least, that's the name I remember. There's a man out there with my face now. He walks in the sun. He talks. He laughs. He picks outfits in front of a mirror and doesn't flinch. He might even be you, if you think about it long enough. So, when this is over, when you turn off your screen and eventually go into the bathroom to brush your teeth, do one thing for me. Look in the mirror. Really look. Watch your reflection's eyes. Tilt your head. Raise your hand. And if, at any point, you get that feeling, that cold shiver in your gut that says, he moved a little too late. He smiled a little too early. He's not just copying me. He's waiting for something. Don't test him. Don't see how far it goes. Don't push it like I did. Because if you stare at him long enough, with enough fear, enough fascination, he'll realize something. He'll realize you're ready. And when your turn comes, you won't know it's happening. You'll just blink, and suddenly your world will look slightly flatter, slightly colder, slightly distant. And you'll watch someone walk away with your life while you stand behind the glass, smiling a smile that doesn't feel like yours. Mirrors don't just show you, they choose you. And sometimes, they win.